So the first question is, there have been some critical comments on the press regarding the overall next steps of Gaia-X. We just saw from Dominic all the relevant milestones and all the different series of how we're moving forward. What would be your response in terms of these critical statements that we've seen from different media without necessarily liaising, let's say, with us, but still putting up a lot of statements without necessarily our liaison or approval?
Critical statements, as one of my friends sitting here in the room told me yesterday, are necessary because there is three phases of making disruption. The first phase is where nobody believes you. The second phase is when everybody criticizes you. And the third phase is when everybody accepts you. So critics means we have moved ahead. And possibly we are doing something real. Probably, if not certainly, we are doing something that is touching on the nerves some existing strong ecosystems of economy. And that's a fact. When it gets to the critics about we're not delivering as fast as the expectation would be, I have to bring in my 30 years experience in this business because I've always been in the business, never in associations before. And whoever has been in the business of software development knows that you never produce something significant in less than 1 year. And we are not building something trivial here. We are building a real new space shuttle to go to the end of the universe, if you think about it. So if I look at it from a purely engineering perspective, we have done incredible progress. We have done an amazing job in putting, aligning 300 plus members, different companies, different point of views on the same direction. And believe it or not, even a startup will die in less than 1 year. This is a typical statistics if they fail to do it. But they start from the concept and they start developing, and they do fail fast, and 90% of the startups fail in 12 months. That's statistics. We are a huge startup, but we cannot fail. So I think we are doing extremely fast and extremely well, and most importantly, we are walking the talk. We made a plan, a 5-year plan, I explained it. Year 1 had 3 key milestones. We are hitting the milestones. Year 2 is the adoption year. So, from my perspective, we are on track.
Thank you. Jeanette, there is another question regarding the funding opportunities. So the question has been, can non-European companies also get funding opportunities? And can we actually help them in this direction?
So first of all, they need to be members. Because we work only for the members, the PPO office is there only for the benefit of our members. Second, the calls are various. So there are calls at a European level, and then there are those national calls, which we also publish in the newsletter, in the funding newsletter, but are at national level, but with international bidding. So yes, on those proposals, yes, they can for sure apply. But all members can be part of the consortium, and we will be happy to help everyone, of course.
On a different aspect, Dominic, the question has been how, if we are interested to get some funding, how can we reach the national hub coordinators to get some funding?
Oh, that was already explained by Jeanette just before, by having a specific person in each hub aligned with the coordinator of the hub to really collect all the information. You might take over, Jeanette, right?
Yes, first of all, the members cannot rely on the hubs themselves. The hubs coordinate with us. They can coordinate between themselves on certain project proposals, okay, especially when there are missing partners in the consortium. But we are like the mediator in the middle. So they have first to contact us, and then if they need, they have particular interest to join a particular hub, we can make them accessible to the coordinator.
Let me add one thing on this,
Yes.
because I think it is important for whoever is or has been in the business. One of the most critical parts when you have to respond to a tender is finding the right partners and making sure they are all on the same page, so they have the same objective. So this normally happens through friends. There's this concept of competition. Sometimes you ally with a competitor, sometimes you compete with them. In Gaia-X, we have this beautiful model where you have a pool of 300 plus companies doing anything from all over the world. And all are working on one objective. So when there is a tender, you have the unique chance to pick and select the best partners to build the best consortium. You are guaranteed that your idea will be put on the right table, in particular on the government of each region where we have a hub. That's a pretty unique model that is a great advantage for our members, small and large.
Okay, as I'm receiving a number of questions, so what type of people and businesses do we want to actively participate in and contribute to the success of Gaia-X? Obviously, it's not our choice, it's their choice. But what would be the recommendation?
If I may say one word, you are always asked for one word before, right?
I know, right? Yes, I do.
All. There is no limitation. There is no limitation.
Okay, and
Industry, energy, healthcare, public services, etc., etc.
This is also correlated, though, to certain challenges, right? What are our biggest challenges right now, if we were to say that we do have challenges? As Francesco mentioned, we need to present results by 1 year.
Again, we are very concrete here. The model Dominic explained, and you have understood, the model of the regional hubs is unique. So imagine Gaia-X as a tree, and the roots of Gaia-X goes into the region through the regional hubs. What we make sure when we build a local hub is that there is a one-to-one, peer-to-peer connection with the local government and the local ministry or ministries that are devoted to the digital transformation of that region. Another thing we make sure, through the governmental advisory board that you've seen Hubert Adieu this morning moderating, we make sure that the strategic objectives of that region expressed by the local governments become inputs to the local hubs. In this way, we ensure that the local hubs know where they have to work on. They can liaise with other hubs in case there is, cross-regional data spaces. Think about healthcare, one whole, and they are ensured that their solution will be financed if they match the need of the local government. And this is, again, a unique opportunity. So, like Dominic said, anybody can participate, but Gaia-X gives a clear guideline on where to focus the energy. It's not just an academic think tank. We are here to produce tangible results, and we talk to the business owners or the public administration's owners to understand what they are.
May you allow me to catch
Yes.
up on and bring the small, medium enterprises and what just you said, Francesco. How could one organization at one specific location in the world take care globally on small, medium enterprises? This is unthinkable. As Peter Altmaier correctly just mentioned before in his speech, it is a regional and national need. As we mentioned before, hubs are the heart. They are the think tank of Gaia-X. They are the business. They know exactly what is needed. That is exactly what Hubert and the Governmental Advisory Board and mention all the others mentioned several times today. The region specifies the strategy, and there it is leveraged, and the SMEs are plugging in exactly there. So the hubs open Gaia-X to the SMEs, and if you allow me, Francesco, to add, Gaia-X is not on huge, large global corporations only. It's on SMEs. I think more than 40% of our members are SMEs. How shall they trust Gaia-X if we would not serve SMEs? And that only goes by the hubs. The importance of hubs, I think, is underlined very often, and we shouldn't underestimate that.
Gaia-X is also a citizen-centric platform, I would say, project. What do we expect from the citizens and the humans overall, and how would we expect to support Gaia-X? Because it's not only about organizations, big or small. It's not about European countries or different. It's moving on a global scale.
Yeah.
What do we expect?
Awareness. You have heard about Brittany opening keynote. Brittany is one of the most influential data ethics activists in the world. She is making sure that the people understand the value of data, because data is becoming our life. So when we talk about digital twins, let's not forget we are being twinned by our digital dual. And we need awareness. A big part of Gaia-X is digital advocacy. We need to speak, make people understand this is not just for business and public administration. This is for all.
Janet, a final question for you. For the past couple of months, we see an incremental increase in terms of the members, that are interested to join us. Small, medium, startups, bigger. Why would you think this is the case? This is the direction?
I think this question should be better answered by our CEO, but I think they see the value of Gaia-X. So from our conversations and the feedback that we have and the value that they see in the participation of the working groups, they see a value, so in joining Gaia-X. Some obviously join Gaia-X as curiosity also. They don't know what it is. But in the end, I think they have a value. They see a value in joining. So that's why. But could be better as the.
Well, let me spend a word on small medium business. I think it's deserved. European economy fabric is 85% made by SMBs. This makes no difference for technology SMBs. Now, for SMBs in Europe, this is not an opportunity for competitiveness. It's a matter of dead or alive. So all the SMEs we have in our association, they know exactly that the only way to survive and revitalize and maybe create a new generation of digital economy, which is going to become real economy more and more, is to federate. That's it. So the key advantage of small business startups, we have heard yesterday about a startup, is that everybody understands that the only way to overcome the one and only problem that Europe has always had, which is a problem of critical mass. We don't have any technology gap. We don't have anything to fill in terms of competencies. We just miss critical mass. And the federation mechanism is the very simple and unique mechanism to make it happen. We are building, let me say, a meta model for federation, which is going to create cooperation, which is going to create a different type of business model. Our members understood that very well.
No, you did.
Would you allow me to
Yes, please,
really,
go ahead. Yes. We are an open format.
The platform economy in Europe needs federation. And as a small, medium enterprise, you yourself, you are already optimizing your optimum. And if you go further, if you go larger, but through federation, if you trust the label scheme, the very, very critical and credential label scheme, then we are there. That is Gaia-X. That is our delivery.
We have a couple of questions. Also, if we can bring the microphone to Mark here, and then I would like also to get a question from Barbara. Yes, Barbara and Mark, both of them. We can take the first question from Mark and then Barbara, and then anyone else that would like to address any questions. Thank you very much.
Following this reasoning that you were doing about the small enterprises, the necessity to federate and the necessity to work in a different way, to collaborate, I wonder if you are also considering a similar policy and a similar initiative and educational push toward the public administrations, because I think they are very, very important. They are everywhere in any sector. We are going to be working for the digital transformation. They are not used to participate in this kind of innovative environments. They have to learn how to do it. And so I wonder now if it is not necessary to make a specific policy toward the public administrations which is articulated in relation with the different characteristics of each administration, say local municipalities or public education, So have to have a specific policy from Gaia-X toward these sectors.
Well, you have learned in these 2 days that we work on two main aspects. One is the data spaces, and the other is the infrastructure. So we are trying to build, an interconnection with those two worlds to create a data infrastructure ecosystem. When it gets to data spaces, many data spaces like transportation, education, healthcare, of course, and many other, and space, I mentioned that this morning as well, actually rely on a PPP, on a public-private partnership. It's physiological, so it is happening, and it is happening thanks also to the model of the hubs we have. It is happening for hands. So we see the public administrations. Maybe we start working with one ministry, but then other ministries are involved, because when it gets to agriculture, when it gets to healthcare, when it gets to transportation, you can imagine it's not just the Ministry for Digital Transformation being involved. And on the other side, through the hubs mechanism, we can collate together the experience of different countries, and this is happening in the transportation, it's happening in the healthcare, it's happening in many other data spaces now, in Gaia-X. We provide ideas that are not just the idea of the local Italian or German or whatever hub. Is the collective idea from several hubs with shared experience that already includes the need for common ontologies, common data schemes, and this is happening. So this is the way we do it. So we're not guiding or forces or providing guidelines. We are leading by example, because the apps themselves, they represent the real life, the real market, and they are bringing concrete examples. Think about healthcare. The medical healthcare records is one of the problems never solved. And every country, sometimes every region, if you think about Italy, have tried to make their own solution. This will never work. Now we are facing the problem from a European perspective. And there is no more a chance that every single region implements their own single or multiple solution, because they will be compared to what Germany, Netherlands, France are doing. And physiologically, they will align up to a very common data model, common data space model. This is the way we do it. We're not forcing it, but we're leading by example, and the data spaces are leading very much in that direction. And the public administrations are very interested, by the way. The thing I said about the small medium business, believe me, there is no public administration I talk to that is not waiting for federations of small medium business across Europe to happen, because this is the only way for the Ministry of Economic Development, is the only way for the Ministry of Agriculture, is the only way for the Ministry of Education, of Transportation, of Healthcare. Everybody is aware. No one in France, Germany, Netherlands, Poland, and they are all aligned, and they see in Gaia-X an opportunity to see concrete examples coming from the real market, not, with all due respect, just academic use case ideas, real business cases.
I would like to take a question from our press. Barbara, please.
Thank you. My question targets Gaia-X's relationship to the European level beyond getting funding from programs. I have well heard basically all of the presenters underlining Gaia-X is a European project. And I also listened to the kind words of Roberto Viola from the Commission. However, it is clear that the Commission is going in the direction of regulation in the next years, regulating also this area. That's one thing. The other thing is Gaia-X is very much about standardization. The Commission and the European level has very concise ideas how standards have to be generated, how they have to be kept, and so forth. And if you combine the two, then for European regulation, only a certain kind of standards, European standards, is more or less adaptable, usable. So assuming that you're continuing to grow and be successful, you're going to be a quite important player in our field at the European level. And there might be, I don't know whether there's competition, but there might also be conflicts of interests. Do you have, assuming Gaia-X continues to be successful, a strategy on how to interact with the Commission, even with the Parliament, and so at the European level in order to further Gaia-X's interest and the interests of its members?
Okay, it's a very important and articulated question. So first of all, we are not publicly funded, so we are a totally private association, and that's a choice because we want to be the voice of the market. This makes us extremely influential also on the tables of the European Commission that actually speaks to us, and we listen to them and we speak to them to understand where we are going. I think you received very strong, bold messages from the last three contributors that basically were a call to action for Europe and Gaia-X. So that happened without us being, let me say, sitting in any regulatory or European Commission tables, just because they listened to us. Who else you can listen to if not the market voice? So this is happening, I think, in an osmosis, I don't know if that's the right word, way, but in a very natural way. When it gets to the regulation, there's another simple ingredient of our recipe. We do not want to be a formal standard of body. We do not want to be a formal, let me say, regulation authority. We want to become, as anyone, a standard de facto, the so-called industrial standard. If you do good things, like SAP did in the past, they have become a standard de facto. If this happens, we don't have to force anything. The market will pull for it, and the policymaker will look at us and adjust the direction. I think we are converging, to be honest. I don't see any divergence in that. And what's the future is about, we don't know, but if the future will see Gaia-X becoming a de facto standard, well adopted, well perceived in Europe and outside of Europe, maybe there is an evolution in terms of making it a standard, but this will not be made by us.
May you allow me to add an example specifically?
Yes, of course.
Next Monday at 10 o'clock, and as Roberto just mentioned in his speech, just as an example for the industry and Industry 4.0 manufacturing data space, there's a huge European workshop where all the challenges, requirements, and next steps are discussed, closely aligned. And that is this everyday work that I also tried to emphasize in my speech before. There are so many details happening every day and every week to align and to synchronize, as just mentioned before.
Well, my fantasy was that at a certain point in time, the Commission is going to come to you and say, well, we're very impressed by your standards and the framework. Now you have to go to Etsy and have it formally standardized there. You have to sort of get the European stamp. And this is going to limit your freedom, your range of freedom, if you do this.
I think I understood your question, even if you didn't pronounce it. My answer is pretty clear. Maybe that is going to happen, but it's not going to be driven by us. Of course, we collaborate with Etsy and Senelec and other, but in terms of collaboration, we compare to each other and we try to go in the same direction. And maybe one day that will happen. It's not our, let me say, mission. Our mission is to make this thing real and become a standard de facto. What happens after, we will see. But if we started the other way around, it would never work. Regulation is not going to rule the world anymore. People have to be convinced. Trust is a matter of sentiment. And there is no way to make it. Regulation is necessary, but cannot make it happen.
There is a question. Yes, sorry. There is a question for Dominic surrounding the technical committees. Where can we have more detailed information on the process of working groups and technical committees?
Website.
The website.
Very simple, one word. You like one word, so
Yes,
website.
I do like
in the
one
lower
word.
part, and that's the menu bar in the upper part. Each committee, each working group has a one-pager there. The architect, again, the TAD, as we call it in the architecture of standards, 2 documents being published.
And by the way, we have also real people. So there's not just a website. You can call, you can email. There's Jeanette, her team, Dominic, his
Yes.
team, myself. We are there, and you will find out that we usually respond to you.
So we are in charge of the onboarding process in the working groups, so they can contact us and we provide them all the information. And also there are webinars which we are doing on a monthly basis, and these will also be for non-members.
On a final note, there is a question in this direction. When the internet was developed, this was the most popular thing. So there is kind of thought that we are also popular.
Yeah.
But I believe that we are more than popular. So, and more than just what the word describes. So what are we exactly, if we were to define it with one word?
One word, I can't do it.
One word.
You know, I can't do it. But you mentioned the internet, which is one word, but you have to know the history of the internet. If you make the history of internet 100, 80 of it was totally unknown. Yes. Because when the ARPANET was built, there were less than 15 computers connected onto the ARPANET. And when the TCP/IP protocol was invented, there was a boost, because all of a sudden, okay, we have a common protocol to talk about. Think about the GSM. Gaia-X is not very different. But then, in the last 15 years, it bursted out completely. Why? Because of the HTML, basically, and the evolution of the network. So that's what I mean by disruptive effect. If you do something good, you don't have to push. At a certain point in time, it will burst out because the market pulls. We are building the key components of a kind of new internet era for federated systems, but the hope is that it will become like that, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. We are receiving an immense load of questions. Thank you very much, both the virtual attendees and our physical attendees. We will try to respond back to you because obviously the time is now limited. So at this time, I would like to invite Max also on the stage and to please bring a chair for some of the concluding remarks. And equally, thank you very much. So we learned a lot today. We've had a lot of interest from many virtual attendees, many physical attendees, a lot of press as well. What would be the next steps of Gaia-X? Max.
So let me first say that I think that was a long session today, this morning, but it was also, again, a lot of content. And I really hope we made clear what has been done so far and also what is now the next step. Because I think the challenge we are looking is a hard problem, as we all know, but I think we have made significant progress so far, set the basis, and the next year, as Francesco laid out, is about, you know, making it available, and that's what we are up to, and I believe that, and that's what I really enjoy a lot when going on these events, when talking to our BOD members, which is a group also of both providers and users, that we are very clear on why we are driving this forward in terms of the challenges that I see for my clients, that I see as a provider where I can fill a gap. So that's on the high level. Now going back to the concrete things, I think we will be, as said, the next phase will be of making it available for the end user by federation services, by the labels, so providers will be able to ask for the labels essentially and label their solutions, and that's what ultimately everybody's looking for. Then you can buy a service that is Gaia, that is a Gaia service. That's my view on the place going forward. I also think when we look at and I'm grateful for that, the impressive support we get from the public sector, from the public administration, right? With Roberto, Viola talking, Bruno Le Maire, and also Mr. Altmaier. I think it is important to kind of see that we are solving a problem that is both relevant for the industry, but strongly supported also by the public administration, by the governments across Europe. And I believe that will help to accelerate what we are doing, because that's what their focus is about, right? Help us to kind of accelerate the things we do. So yeah, that's what I believe is in for us.
What can I add on that? I think it was a great 2 days, and we wanted to show a few important things. First of all, there is people, there is a real team, and the team is really cohesive. So we act, we think and act as one. As difficult as it can be with such a broad membership, as you have understood. The second thing we wanted to tell you is that we have a clear roadmap, and we are totally aware of the complexity of the project we are doing. So we walk the talk and try to handle all the expectations, and in my honest opinion, having a high level of expectation is a good thing, despite the fact that maybe this can lead to some critics or voices that we have to listen to, but we are walking the talk. The third thing is that we start to see tangible results, because you heard yesterday about Gaia-X. I keep repeating, this is not just the only project. We have 5 projects of that size going on. Definitely, automotive is a very important market. I don't have to explain to you the importance of the automotive market in the last few years in Europe. But if the most important or the most effective market in Europe starts making his revolution through Gaia-X, I think this is a very important sign to tell the people. And last but not least, I've heard a lot of questions about the public administrations, the citizens. So I'm very glad, because it means everybody starts to understand this is not just for European technology providers. It's not just for European industry. It's not just for Europe only. It's not just for business. It's really a new type of concept, a new type of awareness on the need for a new type of digital trust. And this is what we need to boost and drive our effort. So we are just building key gearings of a very flexible engine through which we will be able to automate any sort of service in the public, in the private, and potentially in the future also in the consumer market. And we are just here. We are moving from, let me say, the specification phase to the implementation phase, from the setup phase to the adoption phase, and we're making a lot of progress, which we are proud about. So to me, that was extremely useful, and the last thing I wanted to highlight is a very concrete, cohesive, and aligned call to action from our representatives from the member states and the European Commission. And again, I have not seen something like that in other situations.
Thank you very much. This is the conclusion.
I think we have one
more
final
question,
announcement.
comment. Okay, go ahead.
When I just wanted to make sure, because Hubert said it in his talk, and I think it is important, and I just want to make sure it doesn't kind of drop through. We have received from the DG Comp a letter of comfort around how Gaia is built, and that the Gaia outputs are basically can be seen as something that can be accepted from the policymaking parts. And I think that is a thing that hasn't happened in years. And as far as I'm not so familiar with that part of the world, but I was told it hasn't happened in the last 20 years for organizations like ours. And I think it is a very important statement because it goes to show that the approach of how we set up Gaia, with the openness, with the procedures inside, is exactly fulfills these goals. And that's why it's such a strong statement. And we're gonna have also, regular press announcement around that. But Hubert said it, and I think it's very important that this doesn't fall through the cracks.
This is correct, and the fact that we also had representatives and ministerial reps today, but equally so from DG Connect, and the guidance letter from DG Competition is extremely important as to our next steps and how we're moving forward. So we're very thankful for the support that we receive. We are very thankful for the entire summit of 2021. I guess we will see you next year. We appreciate your time and your availability today. Gaia-X is here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you.